and welcome to my September Magical Readathon TBR. It's September, so it's time to skip TBR Assemble and instead do the Magical Readathon. So let's talk about the prompts I'm doing and the books I'm going to be reading for them. I'm going to be doing the Necromancer career once again, which means my first prompt is to have an O in Animal Studies, and the prompt for that is Hatchlings, aka a debut book. So for that I'm going to be going for a Principle of Moments. I've had this one on my list since last year, I think it was, and I heard amazing things about it. If I remember rightly, this is a bit like Darker Shade of Magic, but also with time travel and things like this, and I've been intrigued about it for so long now, so it's about time I read it, so that is what I'm going to be doing this month. Then for spells and incantations, I needed to read an O and the Q grade. So for the O grade, I needed the Luck Charm, which involved rolling a D6 dice, and whichever number it landed on, I needed to essentially read a number within that page bracket. So I rolled a 2, which means I needed to find a book that was between 101 and 200 pages. So I've gone for Marvel Zombies Volume 1 because I am desperate to reread this one because Marvel Zombies is out this month. So there is no better time to read this one. It's also 136 pages long, so it's definitely within that bracket, and I am so excited to be back in the world of the zombies again. And then with my Q grade, I needed to be up to date with current spell trends, which means reading a book that has been released this year, and there is a book coming out in September that I'm very, very excited for, which is Elle McNichol's Role Model, which I'll be reading this month, and I'm so excited about this one. It's another middle grade by Elle McNichol, following a young girl who is autistic, but she is also the daughter of the Prime Minister of England, and I am so excited about this one. I love Elle McNichol's work. I cannot wait to see what this one's going to do and how it's going to make me cry, and I'm just so excited to read it. For Conjuration, I need all 3 levels, so for the O level, I need to have Conjuring Circles, which is to read a book with a circle on the cover. So I'm going for Marvel Zombies Volume 2 because there is Cap's shield, which admittedly has a bite out of it, but then there is also more circles within the shield, so definitely counts for that. This is actually the second volume in the Marvel Zombie series that I mentioned earlier, and it's essentially what happens when the Marvel Universe gets hit by zombies and everyone becomes a zombie. It is so much fun to read. I love this series so much, so I'm really, really excited to be rereading it. For the Q spell, I needed to be borrowing a spell, which means borrowing a book of somebody else's TBR. So I am borrowing a book of Abby of Pelennor TBR, and that is reading another Discworld book, specifically The Monstrous Regiment. And I can't remember what this one's about specifically, but I think it's about a woman joining the army of the Discworld, and there are vampires and trolls, and that is all I really know. That's all I really want to know. I just know that I'm very excited to be reading this one. And then finally for the D grade, it was a Conjuring a Snack prompt, which means to read a book with food on the cover. So I'm going for the Immortal X-Men here, because as you can see, the table is laid with food on the cover, so it definitely counts. And I am so excited about this one because it means I am finally continuing on with the Krakoan era like I've been meaning to do all year. So very, very, very excited to get reading this one. For Restoration, I only needed the O prompt, which is to have an Unbroken Focus tincture, which is to read a book with a single POV. So I'm going for A Trail Through Time by Jodie Taylor, which is about a group of historians who travel through time and the absolutely ridiculous shenanigans they get up to throughout time and space. And I'm so excited to read this one. I've been really enjoying this series and I've kind of been putting it off for a while, so it's about time I finally got back to it, so I cannot wait to get started. Then for Demonology, I need all 3 levels. So for the O in Demonology, I need the Impling Outburst prompt, which is to read a book with an emotion in the title. So I'm going for Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong, and I'm counting longing as an emotion because it kind of is, and it was basically the only thing I had, so I am going for it. But anyway, this is an Antony and Cleopatra retelling, if I remember rightly, and also it's got Hunger Games vibes, if I remember rightly as well. Either way, I've heard amazing things about this one. It's on my priority list, and it's about time I got to it. For Q, it was Underground Habitat, which means to read a book with a dungeon, a cave, or a secret lair, and I'm going to go for any of the Krakoan era comics I also need to read, because nearly all of them have some kind of secret lair or dungeon or something in them, and even if that doesn't count, Krakoa is literally, for a while, their secret lair, so I am definitely counting it. And then finally for the D grade, it was a New Generation Demon, which is to read an author who was younger than me. And this one was very difficult because it turns out there aren't actually that many authors out there that I own who are actually under the age of 29. But what I did find was a book that was published by an author who was younger than me when they published it, and I'm counting that. And that book is Stormfront by Jim Butcher, which is the first one in the Dresden Files series, which has been described as a little bit being like an older version of Skullduggery Pleasant, which was all I needed to know to want to read this one. So very excited to get started and to see what I think about it. I've had amazing things about this series. I was a massive fan of the TV adaptation when I was a kid, so I'm really excited to finally be reading the book. And that is my September TBR. At the moment I'm thinking I may have time to also read Marvel Zombies 3 and 4, but if I don't, that's absolutely fine. I can read that in October as the show continues on. But for the actual main TBR that I will definitely be reading, I've got a really nice stack here. Obviously there's a few ebooks and stuff missing, but I'm really excited because I've got a little bit dystopian Hunger Gamesy vibes. I've also got time travel, I've got zombies, I've got fantasy and everything else in between, so it feels like a really nice stack that I can really sink my teeth into. So very excited to get started. And that is where I'm going to leave this video, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me if you're taking part in the Magical Readathon, I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a zombie emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all of my social media if you want to check it out, including to my Etsy store that sells bookish merch if you want to treat yourself to something bookish today. Or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!